in order to really work in sport, that you had to be several times better than everyone just to get noticed. It was such a great way to take the subjectivity out of the equation. In a beauty contest, you're not going to win. But if you're 3 times better than everyone, you're going to make a lot more money. Sports is, again, the only thing that you still have to watch live.
Anything that's in person is just going to continue to rise in value.
Super Bowl, $10 million a spot for 30 seconds. But if you don't have the character, we're not going to recommend you. 2, I'm sure you won't make it.
All right, I want to welcome Andy Appleby here with us. Andy, thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
Appreciate you. Most people, I think, around the Detroit area would know you by your baseball field.
Mm-hmm.
UWM field in Utica, Michigan.
Yes.
Kind of a unique setup,
mm-hmm.
right? Kind of built off of the minor league baseball world.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, I guess maybe even before that, though, Matt, I think you kind of almost threw me when you said people would know me for the baseball, but because for so many years people knew me because I worked for the Detroit Pistons back in the heyday and the bad boys, and have lots and lots of stories. In fact, my first day of work was Dennis Rodman's first day.
Oh, great.
I always say that's where our similarities differed after that. But I actually grew up in New England, but came here to work for the Pistons in 1986 and was there for 12 fantastic years, really getting my PhD, if you will, in the sports business, and then left in 1998 to at least try to start the next great company. First there was General Motors, and then General Electric, and then General Sports in 1998. And right off the bat, really the idea for Utica came from buying a minor league baseball team in Fort Wayne, Indiana in 1998. And then we owned that team for 8 years. We had a lot of success with it. We were Team of the Year nationally a couple of years there, I think 03 and 04. In the midst of that, Matt, we started a pretty significant synthetic turf business. So we sold a lot of the high school and college football fields across the Midwest in that 2004-2009 period. And then we were bought out by the AstroTurf parent company. And but just previous to that, we bought our first major club, which was a soccer team in England. What would they call football there? But we were actually in the Premier League, so playing the likes of Manchester United and Arsenal and Chelsea and all the big Liverpool, all the big teams. And we owned that for 8 years, and then sold that in 2015. And then in 2016, I had been wanting to bring minor league baseball to Metro Detroit for so many years. And I always used to say it was sort of a 15-year overnight success because it took a long time to put all the pieces together. But in order to come here, I had to kind of create my own baseball league, which is not simple, but yet this opportunity sort of gave me a chance to use every good idea I've seen or done over the last, in that case, 30 years in sports. And it was kind of the culmination of the first part of my career where I could use all those great ideas and the design, the marketing, the sales, the game presentation, even really tapping into all of these wonderful relationships I built in this community and having it be only 15 minutes from my house or 15 minutes from my office. It's been such a blessing. And now, hard to believe, we've been completed now 10 years, and this will be our 11th season coming up. So it's been a great story. Not only do we do well, but we get to do so much good, Matt. So we have over 1,100 different charities that leverage the ballpark each year, almost 70,000 kids in our reading program. So it's wonderful when you can make a great positive impact on the community.
Gosh, there's so many different directions I would love to go from here, but I'm going to just kind of start throwing noodles at the wall here and see what sticks. But really interesting thing about your field there is that you do host a lot of events.
We do, yeah.
And I was chairman of a group for my alma mater, high school.
Right.
And we actually hosted a couple of years at your place during COVID because we couldn't do indoor venues.
That's right.
And you guys were able to accommodate us.
Yeah. Now, and speaking of De La Salle, we now have had, I think, 3 high school football games there.
You convert the baseball diamond into a football field, which is just fantastic.
Well, it is, and the sight lines. It's so exciting when you go to a high school game at our ballpark.
It is off the charts.
You're like right on top of the players.
Off the charts, yeah.
But we've had a lot of changes, all positive. One, we had Jimmy John's as our ballpark naming rights for years, and now we're going to UWM, which is Matt Ishbia's wonderful company that have been with us since day one. They were actually the league naming rights, initially called United Shore Professional Baseball League after their United Shore company. And now they not only have kept the league naming rights, but now are doing the actual stadium naming rights. So it's called UWM Field. And then the second part of that is that after 10 years, we actually are going to a state-of-the-art synthetic turf system, which is very, it's just a wonderful thing for us after having to take care of that field. You mentioned it for a second there that, we have a lot of other events. And so we have 70 commercial USPBL baseball games, but we have 100 other events, believe it or not, and not easy to keep that field looking great.
Yeah.
So it'll be
not a lot of days in between that when you start to think of how many days are in the year of turning it all over.
Oh, exactly. And not that we can't have a rain out anymore, right? Because if it monsoons for 4 straight hours, we'll have a rain out. But it takes away a lot of that rain out because the field drains so quickly.
Okay.
And
is there something we should know about the difference between the actual turf of where the greenery is versus where the dirt is? Is that also synthetic?
Right. So in the old world, it used to be, you'd have dirt infield, dirt pitcher's mound. Not anymore. No, everything is so state of the art that it's just different color turf.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really amazing where you don't need your tarp anymore.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it's so great because when you're doing this for 10 years, you sort of live on weather.com, every 5 seconds. And every 5 seconds it changes, by the way.
Yeah.
But, and we'll still have to live on it a little bit, but not as crazy as we used to be because, my office is down the street from you here in Rochester. And a lot of times the storms would come from the west, and so it would hit my office, and I'd be frantically calling there to get the tarp on because 15 minutes you're going to get a big storm. So we'll that and the maintenance on the field. I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep track of a field like that.
I'll bet.
So it's super expensive to buy one of these synthetic turf fields, but they have about a 6 or 7 year payback.
Okay, great. We also had Dana Schmidt on the podcast a while back, and so we did learn a little bit, but I always forget because you do so many different things. And it's not so many different things, but it feels like a lot to me.
It is a lot. I have several day jobs.
Would you explain that? Because
so we do. The baseball is very all encompassing for me because, obviously I do a lot of the selling as well, but I have to have an equal amount of time with our sports agency because I feel like I really need to be the catalyst with that as well. And we have several different divisions. It's we've had a sports agency called General Sports for years. But this is more specific where we actually raised different investors to create kind of a mini IMG, if people remember that term. And so we represent players. So, and much of our operations are in the UK, but we represent a little over 200 players now in English soccer. So mostly men's soccer players there. Some women, some cricket players, but mostly men's soccer players. And then we also do team consulting. So we probably have 10 or 12 different teams in England that we help them to create more revenue based on our expertise. And then I handle a lot of the team sales, mergers and acquisition business. So we have 7 or 8 teams that we're currently selling, and really just looking for high net worth individuals that want to buy a sports team. And in England, as opposed to America, where you can't really be a mere mortal and buy a team anymore when, teams are going for $4 and $5 billion.
Right.
You can still buy a really nice team in England with a stadium for like $5 million, know?
Okay.
So there are, a number of opportunities for people that, really want the sporting and the fun side of it, but can actually afford it.
A couple of comments I have for you. One is, thanks for naming it UWM, because now I'll never know where I'm supposed to go, because my son plays soccer in the UWM fields in Pontiac. So everything will have to be very specific to the city as we're making any of our family plans here. Yeah. So thanks for that. But how is it that you are able to manage all of these different entities? I mean, I know that you have a powerhouse of a team that works with you, but help let people understand how you stay organized.
Yeah, so I pretty much work all the time, Matt, even on weekends. But the nice thing is that, and my kids, my wife, they don't give me a lot of sympathy or empathy because, I get to work in the toy department of life. And it really is something that, as hard as I work, I always remember that it's kind of fun too.
That's cool. Are any of the family members involved?
Yeah. My son, my wife is she's great at everything, but she runs our charitable foundation where we do dream bedrooms for chronically ill children. It's called the Sweet Dreams Project, SUITE, and we've done this now for 26 years. It's an incredible organization, done hundreds of kids' dream bedrooms, and then she helps us with, designing our offices and all kinds of stuff. But my son, who's 29, Brock, he just joined us about 1.5 years ago, and from Chicago, the Major League Soccer team there called the Chicago Fire. And he sells sponsorships for us at the ballpark. So, so fun having him back here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Were you an athlete growing up?
So I was a 3-time state champ wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you stumble into the
I just
Pistons,
always
or
wanted to be GM of the Red Sox. Shot the resume to all the major teams, and the best offer came from the Pistons. Not that I knew that this team would catch fire or that Dennis Rodman would ever be a good player. It just happened that I came here mostly because I knew the Palace was going to be built, and I figured, well, it'd be 100 jobs for that. I can get a job there. And so that's how it all started.
Fantastic.
And I just sold tickets for the Pistons. I had, quite a lot of, I guess, great credentials in college, given the fact that I had my own radio show. I was the cable sportscaster for the city of Springfield, Mass. I was the sports editor for 3 years. Just like I did everything, class president, I did everything you could do. But, when you're trying to get a job in sports, there wasn't a big multi-million-dollar offer.
not right off the rip anyway, right?
No.
That's amazing. I would say what part of all this success has been instinct over, learned discipline, or is it a combination of both?
I think it's, in my case, we all of us that wanted to work in sports 40 years ago, I mean, the only way to do it was through sales. They didn't have 28-year-old general managers back then, And so in order to really work in sports, you had to sell tickets, some way to create revenue.
Some way to drive revenue,
right.
And that's where you got some attention then.
Right. Well, and I learned at a very early age, one, with the Pistons, I knew right away that you had to be several times better than everyone just to get noticed, one. But even though none of us went to school for sales and none of us, truly love it, truth be told, I felt like it was such a great way to, to be very accountable and to, really take the subjectivity out of the equation. There's a lot of times in life, if you're just in a beauty contest, you're not going to win. But if you're 3 times better than everyone, you're going to make a lot more money and you're going to get a lot more responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, well, number one, no matter if I had a basketball in my hand from the day I was born, I would have never made the Pistons, right? And I never would have made the New York Giants football team. But you're telling me all I have to do is work harder than everybody to achieve all this success. To me, that was easy. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is work so much harder than everyone and you can get everything you ever wanted.
Yeah.
But that's something that even today when I'm talking to kids, they see it, but they just don't always want to do it. Mm-hmm. And but in my case, there was just so much, just coming from the background I had. Not to say it was any impoverished background of any kind, but certainly solidly middle class. It was just a wonderful thing to be able to progress through the Pistons organization.
Sure. Was there people along the way that inspired you?
Tom Wilson, Dan Hauser, guys at the Pistons that if I can be half as good as Tom, I'll be way better than everybody else. I mean, he's just a genius and, a great person to learn from. Dan Hauser, God, really worked hard. Those were good role models for me.
Were there any isms or anything like that?
Probably not necessarily like Dan Gilbert or whatever, but it was really just. And Tom was great for me because, he. A lot of people don't like the pressure of selling, but I liked it. I told him everything I did. And he really appreciated that. Not everybody understands the sales part of it, how really nothing happens till something gets sold.
Correct.
And, but Tom and I got along famously from almost the first day I started there.
Did he start in sales too?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. He started with the LA Lakers. So he was a Hollywood actor for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years out there and got a role, and on one of the TV shows as that I think it was like the Lakers on a fixing game or something, and he was tall and he got to play an extra, and then he was like, they were I guess spent a lot of time at the LA Forum, and he said, "Oh, why don't you work here?" I'm like, and I think so. He did that, and then at some point he came back to Michigan and got a job with the Pistons. Yeah.
I've been hearing a lot lately about the knock. When an employee knocks on your office door and says, "Got a minute?" and you immediately know it's some sort of IT incident. But Oxium IT can help. Whether you're having a problem, need consulting, an upgrade, or a managed IT approach, they focus on preventing cyber attacks and proactive solutions that deliver results. My friend Matt Loria and everyone at Oxium are ready to help before or after you get the knock. Visit Oxium.com and let Oxium IT help you outsmart chaos.
How is technology impacting your world?
Well, at this point, it's not like AI is taking everyone's job yet, but certainly everyone's trying to figure out how we can utilize it and leverage it.
I mean, you do have it's a nice industry that you're in I don't think we're going to be replacing players with robots, right? And watching them play against each other. I hope not anyway.
No, right. So there's not, at this point, we're not immune to AI, but, certainly I don't know that anyone's necessarily fearful for their job right now. One thing, though, we do on the baseball side is, in order to really market our players to major league teams, they have to have all the stats, right? So exit velocity and spin rate and all of these crazy stats that no one knew anything about for 100 years. And now, now you have to know all those things when you're trying to market a player to a major league team. So we have all the toys, the TrackMan, and now we have a new system called Aware. And, every single pitch is monitored.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember the statement? Were you a Zig Ziglar fan?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Zig would say, you can get anything in this world that you want if you help enough people get what they want.
Yeah.
And it was funny. You had said, I can get anything I want in sports by working harder than, than anybody else. But, as I'm listening to you talk about the players, right. And they're part of your inventory. You're actually there helping them. You're giving them a platform to get noticed, to hopefully be able to go up to the majors, and then you're going to have to backfill. So that does seem a little bit maybe counter to, a businessman trying to maybe hold on to his assets.
Well, but in our case, it's more important for the optics of when you come with your kids or grandkids, and we want you to say, hey, you never know about that first baseman. That kid his replacement just went up to the Twins last week.
Yeah.
And that was always the point. In fact, if we were having this conversation 10 years ago, Matt, I would have said, hey, if we can just get one or two guys signed, I'll be happy. And to think now we've had 52 players signed and 7 guys in the majors. I think if there was any naysayers to my plan, I'm sure there were a lot of people that didn't think it would work in Utica, but if there were any naysayers that said it to my face, it was some of the baseball kind of know-it-all guys around town that, it'll suck and, you won't get any good players. And I'm like, it didn't even faze me because there's so many good players out there. I mean, there's guys, we've had 10 guys throw around 100 miles an hour or more. It's not like they're not real good players.
Right.
There's just zillions of really good players out there. Now, there are not that many Miguel Cabreras or, Tarek Skubals, but there's lots and lots of really good players.
What's that do to you, though, when you see that player graduate up?
When I think of them filling out their application in the clubhouse and, we tell every single one, particularly pitchers, you get everybody out here and go as far as you want. And several of those pitchers are pitching in the majors now, and they took that advice, where they just kept their head down. One other thing that I love about our league, Matt, is that, we're all about character, and we tell these players that, you guys all have to get a little bit better to be signed by a major league team. Not a lot better, just a little bit. But if you don't have the character, we're not going to recommend you. 2, you're not going to, I'm sure you won't make it. And so it's kind of interesting, but we've had about 800 or 900 players at in our league in the last 10 years, and we have never had even the slightest issue with any of them.
Wow.
No, I got to knock on wood when I say that, because eventually somewhere people will, it'll happen, but it's a pretty amazing thing that, here we are sort of taking over a community with 90 players every year and having no issues,
Yeah, that's great. I mean, when you talk about that culture, we talk about the code of conduct or whatever, what does that sound like and feel like?
Pretty much what I just said, you guys have to really keep your nose clean while you're here, not only for our sake, but for your own sake. But I spend a lot of time, walking around the park, talking to fathers and sons or fathers and daughters or mothers and sons or mothers and daughters, just talking about that whole aspect of character and how these guys, they wouldn't make it out of here if they didn't have good character.
Yeah. There's a statement that always comes up as a through line to me or as a Mattism, I guess, if you will, is that you're uniquely qualified to be doing exactly what you're doing right now. And boy, with you, it's hitting on so many threads. I mean, with your sports agency, to be able to mentor these guys, you're mentoring them, on just general ethics. You're mentoring them on sports and playing better, but you're also mentoring them on, how to get noticed, right? Yeah. And career pathing. How to
get noticed is easy. That's where they've got to get a little bit better, listen to our coaches, and show it in the games, because we have every second of every game now is scouted by MLB scouts everywhere.
Okay.
And as I said, whenever they dial up a player, we can give them their whole dossier like in seconds.
When you're thinking about the next 10 years, right, and what's exciting in your world, what does it look like to you?
That's a great question. I don't know. People are always after me to, put a plan together, and I just keep working.
Well, but I mean, you've had successes.
Yeah.
You've seen things. You've seen things come to fruition before they've happened. So people probably look to you like.
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's hard to know.
I
mean, I wouldn't have guessed that sports. I mean, I would have guessed that sports would be white hot today, but I think the pandemic was the best thing for sports in the sense that, we all now watch more TV than we ever did, right?
Yeah.
Like, nope, I never watched Netflix or any of those things. And
now we have 13 subscriptions.
Right. Now we have like everything. And, so there's a lot more going on now. And the point I think I was trying to make before is that, live sports is the only thing people watch commercials on anymore, so it's like now, the Super Bowl, $10 million a spot for 30 seconds,
Yeah, it's wild.
But more than that, sports is, again, the only thing that you kind of still have to watch live.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's because of that, then the TV contracts got so much bigger with these leagues, and now the players make so much money, and now the teams are worth so much money. And so it's been a huge cascading effect. But now seems like every week there's another $500 million or $1 billion public or rather private equity firm that wants to get into sports. So it's a good place to be, especially for our sports agency, where hopefully there'll be a number of suitors for it someday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe explain to people the difference of what you're doing versus traditional minor league baseball. And then let's also talk about, how private equity and other investors are maybe driving that or helping that. Yeah.
So, ours is, really, it's absolutely no different than minor league baseball. The only difference is that the team we had in Fort Wayne, Indiana, was actually directly affiliated with the San Diego Padres. So they provided the players, the coaches, the bats, and the balls. From that perspective, it was a good business model because in our case, we got to pay 90 players. And though they don't make Miguel Cabrera wages, it still adds up to a lot of money. And so, but what I've created here, Matt, is 99.999% exact same as affiliated baseball. I mean, the players are great. The game presentation's better than 98% of other minor league stadiums around the country. The customer service side is, bar none, better than any. We've got the safest ballpark in America, the cleanest ballpark, and so it never fazed me that we were going to be an independent professional baseball league because I already owned an affiliated team for 8 years.
So it didn't feel like a risk to you.
Well, it's always a risk, but it wasn't that, we're going to have terrible baseball. Like I knew that, even though we have 4 teams and people might think that's repetitive with the teams playing each other, I mean, they've got 6 different color uniforms. The rosters are constantly changing. It's not like a kid would be like, oh, I don't want to see beavers and unicorns again.
Right.
It's just, so,
gotcha.
So all those things, work. The other side of this is that, we work really hard, and you know how hard Dana works.
Mm-hmm.
We really work hard to, put on a great show. And in order to be successful, you got to work super hard to get all those sponsorships in and those sell the suites and tickets, and then when they come, you gotta sell beer and hot dogs, and
so your hard work is creating the luck and the success.
Well, 100%,
kind of all the way through.
100%.
There's no resting back.
Yeah, you have to. In our business, you've got to seed success. Now, sometimes in the sports business, you get the Lions going crazy and saying, well, you can sell a $500 a piece ticket, because they kind of caught, lightning in a bottle there. We don't have that same thing to fall back on. We need to have it be just a wonderful family, consistent family, great game presentation, keep it very affordable. I mean, it's pretty amazing that a family of 4 can come in and, pay $6 or $7 a ticket to sit on the lawn, and they get this multi-million-dollar game presentation. And, I see everyone. Then when they leave, I say goodbye to everyone. And when you see that family that is so proud, the mom and dad, to take their kids to that kind of a wonderful event, and it was damn near free for them. I mean, it was really, that's the reason that we don't just get hundreds and hundreds of testimonials. We get thousands. And because I think people feel like they get 4 or 5 times the value of what they pay on that ticket. And in a world of $5 coffees, when do we ever feel that way?
Yeah. Yeah. And what you're doing is experiential. So, I mean, it's something that gets into that, what do they call that? The core memory?
Yeah.
Core memories. You're making memories there at a low cost. That's completely different from anything else, whether it's an arcade or any other experiential type of thing that a family might go to. Yeah. And certainly different than going downtown or wherever. Right. The cost is just completely different.
We don't even charge for parking, Matt. So it's it's a great value.
That's awesome. One of the things I would love to know about is player psychology. So what you've learned about the psychology of a player, especially for people who pump in years and years of their lives to become an athlete, a professional athlete, and then they don't make it to the majors, and the trials and tribulations and how that all works out.
Yeah. So, that's a big aspect of it. When we owned our team in England, it seemed as if in England, the mental health side of things never really arrived. It is now. So teams now have mental health coaches and such. But even as late as 18, 20 years ago, when we first bought that team, nobody cared about, the mental side of, English football. But so, it's a lot more prevalent today in companies and in our league. And, we have, different people that kind of help with that side of things. We don't put a huge emphasis on it because we only have these kids for 4 months, and it's pretty much balls to the wall for them. They don't have time to really get too crazy with their mental health awareness, but they got to be on the field tomorrow.
When you're running that hard, you don't have any chance to
right. And they're young kids, and they're like, okay, whatever, hit the ball.
Yeah, I'm talking more on the side of the, as a sports agent, right? And you have somebody who maybe was flying high one year and maybe not the next. What do you see there?
Oh, yeah. So over there, we do have specialists that help our players. But once again, that's a very much of a just do it kind of a sport. The mental stuff comes more with the real famous players. Not to say that it doesn't happen with with other players, but just it's more in vogue when you see a major player in a funk or something. So
He's got 30 million people staring at him trying to throw that ball.
Players might have the exact same issues, but there's not a lot of time on them. Wasted on it. Yeah,
got it.
Or invested in it, right?
So, you mentioned that you've been in the same office for 27 years. Yeah. and you're building a new facility for your offices. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So we are building a 10,000 square foot building right across the river from the ballpark. So it's basically property there that we purchased. And it'll be great. We've got our offices on the second floor. We actually have space for another tenant that we're just starting to market now. And then downstairs, we have a little hot dog restaurant named after our bat dog, JJ. So it'll be called JJ's Doghouse. We have a little team shop where kids can come and get their name on the back of jerseys and such. And then we have a meetings and event space in the back. So we have a little bit of a commercial angle to it. But the great part for us is that we'll all be together. Mm-hmm. The Rochester office has been so fantastic for so many years. And it's, really built out beautifully. But it'll be nice to have, it'll be more convenient where, we play the games right there.
What do you think is going to happen with your industry as this technological boom that we're in? We actually are saying we're in the most disruptive technological era in the history of the world. So play that out 10 years in the sports world and just tell me, what does it look like to you? It's
hard for me to even think that far, especially on the technology side. It's not necessarily my strong suit, but I actually just mean
even just evolution of how the sports could change.
Yeah. I suppose, I don't know if robots will ever play a part I hope not. In sports. I don't know. Maybe
maybe selling hot dogs.
Well, right. And maybe umpires, like right now we're going to this, this whole digital umpire thing. There's umpires back there, but I don't think they're actually calling the balls and strikes now. And this will be really interesting, how this all works. So it's already a little bit pervasive already in baseball, and then in other sports, there's more and more instant replays, and just
I didn't think about that the technology could be used to make the call.
Yeah. Well, in tennis they have that, and even in soccer now, they have something called VAR, I think it's called. And that's kind of a, eyes in the sky kind of thing. And they can wave off goals from being offsides and things like that,
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of ways that it's coming in. Even golf telecasts now, they've got 1 million stats and can tell you how far things went. And, it's pretty cool.
I just think that anything in person, I guess my my pontification of it is that anything that's in person is just going to continue to rise in value.
Yeah.
Right. Because the virtual world is just ever expansive and at such a low cost. And you also don't know what's real and what's not real.
That's right.
And with you, with what you have in terms of a field in terms of a league, we can come and see it.
Yeah.
And touch it.
And feel it. Nice summer night in Michigan. It's pretty cool.
What's something that most people don't know about you?
I think pretty much everybody knows I work hard. I don't have a lot of hobbies. I play golf with my son a little bit.
Good golf?
No, decent, but like a 16 handicap. Okay. Like I can hit it, but I'm not gonna be challenging anybody. It's such a hard question for me. In fact, I hate when somebody asks me what my hobbies are. But
I feel the same way. I've only got a couple. So. Yeah. But I mean, is there something, whether it was somebody that inspired you along the way that maybe you didn't talk about? Is it, something about your family? Is there something that is near and dear to you?
The English thing, there's a couple things. One is my mother was from Glasgow in Scotland. So I just watched an Alex Ferguson documentary last night, and he was from Glasgow also. So it was kind of cute seeing a lot of the old scenes and such. And so there's a kind of a connection there with the UK. And then locally here, we've been talking to the city of Providence, Rhode Island, about maybe doing a ballpark there someday. And that would be like coming home. I was born in Providence, Rhode Island. My dad was East Providence High School class of 1945. So that would be kind of cool, kind of coming back with something like that.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about you. I hope you enjoyed this.
Great
and,
to
thanks for being here.
Great to see you.
Yeah, likewise. This episode of the BLTNT podcast is sponsored by Auxium, business IT and cybersecurity designed to outsmart chaos. And powered by Juniper Networks. Automate your network with Juniper Networks and the Mist AI platform, the world's first AI-driven wired and wireless network.